Support for Wrong About Everything comes from Minnesota's credit unions. Credit unions are locally based, member-owned financial cooperatives that return earnings to members through higher savings rates, lower loan rates, and reduced fees. Visit mncun.org for more information. We are back with another episode, and it's the Amy Show again, once more on February 12th. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Minnesota Credit Union Network studio. I am former Republican Senate Majority Leader Amy Koch.
I am original host of this show and former mayor of Jordan, Mike Franklin.
I was on this show 9 years ago, and they had an a cappella choir, and they don't have one now, and that's disappointing. I'm Ryan Winkler.
And I am former state senator Carla Bigham.
And we are
Wrong About Everything.
Thanks, guys. It's the Amy Show again. People, listeners, listen, you demand it. We give it. It's the new podcast. We're like in beta testing, and I think so far
It's good.
it's good.
It's good.
So I think we should just go around really quickly and just tell people a little bit more about you, because former mayor of Jordan.
Yeah.
For really old time fans of the podcast, you will know that, well, first of all, the ghost of Mike Franklin, original host of the show, and also the subject of Jugs, which was the Jordan Underground, aimed at undermining the entire mayoral administration.
That's the campaign originally, and then the administration.
Campaign, and then he won.
But we prevailed.
Good.
Nevertheless, we persisted.
We were housed in that silo at the world's largest candy store.
We were.
And we took action.
We were. There's nothing more for me to offer. That's about it.
Oh, okay.
That's literally it.
Yeah, 4 kids.
Yeah, 4 kids, all that. But no, it's been a while. I'm honored to be back. I work for you now, so that's also new.
Momentum,
which is good. Momentum. It's nothing but momentum.
So that if you
around
listen,
here.
it should be sponsored by Momentum.
And it kind of is. It kind of is. No, it's great to be back. And I had no idea it had been 9 years since you've been on, Ryan.
It feels much longer.
And yet, like yesterday.
We missed you.
Yes.
Well,
Ryan, tell the folks. I mean, anybody that follows Twitter knows you, but
Yes, I'm also a Twitter influencer of trolls. I'm happy to say that my rent for living in their heads has not gone up at all. They all think I'm still in the legislature, getting paid for not working, not getting anything done, wasting stealing their tax dollars. I'm all over that. That's not something I'm doing anymore.
What are you doing now?
Well, I founded and am CEO of a beverage company, Crooked Beverage, which sells THC drinks in Minnesota and 10 states around the country. I practice law and recently got married.
Yeah,
so we're a blended family of 5 kids now. I bet nobody here can beat that.
Close,
but not quite. And kids are growing up. My oldest is 20 at the Naval Academy. My middle son is a senior in high school. He just broke the school record for most saves by a goalie in a hockey season.
Wow. Nice.
868 saves so far this year.
Wow.
Think about that. It's a lot. And Hopkins High School.
Wow.
And you might think terrible defense. Actually, they've got a winning record. It's just a ton of shots coming his way.
Sure.
So, and my youngest is a ninth grader, 3-sport athlete, 4.0. We raise him right.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes, very good. And Biggie, you've been on now a few weeks, so
yeah,
but
Mayor
the
Fry's
public keeps demanding you back.
Well, Mayor Fry's going to start charging me taxes, unfortunately, if I keep having to come out here to Minneapolis to do this. So yeah, no, I appreciate you having me back. This is fun. Wink and I actually came into the house together in 2005, but I think we've known each other since 2000, Edward's campaign, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. But our first session was 2007.
Oh, that right. Yeah. I was a city council 2005. Sorry, I got to get my resume correct. Yeah, 2007 was the House. 2005 was city council. It's good to be mayor, right?
It can be.
Yeah, I always tell people that, but I was only a council member.
It's a great job. You have 2 statutory responsibilities. You're the fire commissioner if there's no fire chief, which we had, so we can scratch that one off. You're also the weed commissioner.
Yep, for sure.
Which
a lot of people thought I was going to be that.
Yeah, they did.
There's an interim one now. They might be hiring.
It's not too late.
Yeah, might actually have been implemented by now. Wink, if you got done.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Well,
weed
folks,
commissioner.
today is a banner day because you're in Minnesota Credit Union Network studio. I guess what today was.
I'm a member.
Thank
Lays.
you, as is the Wrong About Everything team,
Yes.
because why wouldn't you be a member
Right.
of the credit union? They sponsor this studio, and today was the day on the Hill.
Woo!
They had a big event at Union Depot where thank you so much for anyone who's just joining us. I know, first of all, thank you to the Credit Union Network members that came up to us and said, "Hey, we listen." But also if you're just joining us, thank you so much today. We got to do a panel discussion for them, and then they headed over and they rallied in the rotunda because credit unions got everything to rally about. They're so good. They're good for the community. They're good for the podcast. We love you, credit unions. Also, big thank you to Gabe Noah, our producer, also comedian. Let's see what else we got, Gabe. We should go to our website, Wrong About Everything podcast,
Hey,
or check
Amy.
out our YouTube channel because we're trying to be cool and have a YouTube channel that I can never share.
What if I would need legal representation?
Wow! Let me tell you about
Chances
this
are pretty
sponsor. Right. I mean, first of all,
Aren't you one of those sanctuary counties? They're coming for you.
Let's say you took a crowbar to an egress window. You might want to give a call to our friends at Bradshaw and Bryant. Their entire team of attorneys and staff are dedicated to providing the legal advice you need, combined with the service and personal attention you deserve. If you have questions about how they can assist you with a personal injury, wrongful death, or criminal defense matter, don't hesitate to contact them. Consultations are free. You can contact them at 1-800-770-7008, Biggie, or just go to minnesotapersonalinjury.com. And as our friend Mike Bryant likes to say, no snitches. The man will not represent snitches. He's pretty vocal about that. All right. So let's kick off and let's cover some national stuff because Trump never stops giving. And I wanted to get into a little bit of wonkiness about he tends to be losing in court. And there was an interesting article on NBC about an obscure law. So in part, there's constitutional questions about what he is doing.
Foundational law for almost everything
Right.
that government does at the state and
There's
national
some
level.
questions about that. Oh,
Right.
all right.
But
Didn't know.
also, all of them are requiring on a law from 1946 that was called the Administrative Procedures Act, which was apparently put in place by time travelers who knew what was going to go down.
Like
in
literally
2025.
everything a federal agency or a state agency does is governed by that statute.
Yes, absolutely. And so it's being cited in all the court cases, and its abbreviated form is the APA, and it allows judges to throw out federal agency actions, which is what we're talking about because the agencies are an extension of the Trump administration, that are arbitrary and capricious on various grounds, including failure to articulate why the agencies are changing the policy, which we've pretty much had in spades for a couple weeks, or we've been given very high level explanations.
Munch.
Right. Or like
Foreshadowing.
USAID, where they just said there's a nest of, it's all worms, no apples.
Yeah.
was the
And then just start
explanation.
taking the name off the building.
Right. Anyway, so, this week he did something. Well, here's some of the stuff he does. I'm in. I'm like, oh, I get it. Or it's not even. Like the Doge stuff, I think we absolutely need to dig into all the government spending. It's more about how this is happening. No oversight, no congressional buy-in. And by the way, the Republicans are in charge of the Senate and the House. It's not like he's got a.
What's his problem with them? I mean, if he trusts them and they know what they're doing, why isn't he letting them do their job?
Too slow.
Well, I think too slow, too ineffective. I also think we're on the fourth generation of Congress that has forgotten how to legislate. This is where my line has been. This is the monkey's paw version of what conservatives have wanted for my entire lifetime, because we're seeing the shrinking of the federal government at either an alarming or an astounding or an amazing rate, depending on your
Or an imaginary rate, as I think it really is.
or potentially at an imaginary rate, but it's being done by maybe not at all, or
Right. Where's the proof?
or by in the wrong way, which is to say that maybe it all just comes back, and that unless Congress either actually does the real thing
Right.
or ratifies retrospectively, perhaps what Doge is doing now, then did this. If USAID falls in the forest, does it make a sound? I
Right,
guess we're
exactly.
going to find out.
Exactly. I don't know. Democrats, what do you think?
I honestly think that I don't think they have the votes in Congress to do what he wants to do, and he's taking the heat now until they can fill it and can figure out a strategy, because they don't have one, and they have fewer seats now than they did in the previous Congress, so it's even tighter. And it's chaos. I think you see inflation came out today. It's up. I was promised it was going down. Went to the store. I was promised my eggs were going down. They went up.
If you can find them.
Yeah, if you can find them. And I think the other thing that's going to happen is you're seeing a lot of like, look, I'm 100% with you. Fraud, bad. I think everybody agrees with that. Get rid of it. Work together in a bipartisan and cameral. Go across all the branches. Let's get it done. Figure it out. And work together to get rid of that. Every year, you should be going through, in our case, every 2 years, going through the budget in the state, for the biennial budget, going through and looking at each expenditure, each department, and each spending, get that done.
But we know that's what never happens.
Right, like that. I fully agree that is what should happen.
But have the discussion, go through the process. Go through the process, the right process, because right now, I have questions about pennies. I have questions about pennies now. And
don't swallow them.
Yeah, right. But just don't do that. Have questions about them. Have the discussion about it, because it might be a very, very good idea. But let's have questions and have people be able to ask questions about them.
There's a basic problem, which is that Americans want a big military. They want Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. So they want their entitlements. They want a strong defense. They don't want to pay that much in taxes, as little as possible. Mm-hmm. And we have this giant out, which is that we can use our status with the dollar as the world's reserve currency to basically inflate through whatever kind of debt we want, which is much easier than passing legislation with 60 votes in the U.S. Senate. It's much easier than doing all the stuff that you just talked about, Carla. And so we continue to use our get-out-of-jail-free status with our budget, and we probably will do that for a long time to come.
Every president since Jimmy Carter says they're going to rein in.
Republicans have loved the tax cuts, but they have never wanted to actually do the spending cuts.
Or repealed the tax cuts that we've done before them.
Well,
could I build on this symphony of the barbershop quartet of violin agreement as we come this way? Because I think we have the same and bigger problem, which is that you all were legislators. Wow, I'm surrounded, and yet had actual budgeting responsibilities and deadlines, which the federal government does not have.
Correct.
And we are now, I mean it, I think we're 50, 60 years into a situation where Congress has been systematically offloading its responsibilities to the executive branch and to the courts, where I wonder whether they even know how to or care to legislate anymore. And so I'm wondering about.
Well, I'll just jump in. I don't think that's fair. I think you saw through the Biden administration some major legislation get passed that has pretty far-reaching consequences. The infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, which really was a divestment from China Act more than almost anything else. The Build Back Better program. I mean, there were major pieces of legislation that went through. The problem is it tends to happen in emergencies, right? So the COVID emergency was kind of the thing that allowed those things to advance.
And that was all spending. Lots of spending. And look, I'm not going to be a hypocrite here as a Republican, say the first Trump administration didn't spend wildly when it came to COVID. They did, and Republicans just need to own that, because guess what? We hold this bag too, while we also try to like wear this mantle of fiscal responsibility. We have not on a national level been doing that. But it's easy when you're spending money. It's much harder when you got to make the tough decisions.
Right.
Well, that's never happened at the federal level since 1980.
No.
That's right.
And it won't. And Trump's not even pretending to be a fiscal conservative. Never has. I mean, I would say, until now, I mean, I guess this is now the first time you've seen at least the posture of what Republicans have been promising the country since 1980.
But go through the process.
I don't disagree with that. I think you're right. Yeah.
And I think that is what I also don't disagree with you guys that some of the things he's doing is like, it's going to be popular with people because of what everyone is saying here, that people wanted to see this done for a long time, and people have said, hey, the spending, the low taxes, I mean, everything, but you got to go through the right process. And I think that's the uncertainty of whether or not people that get federal funding, that are small businesses that are now closing their doors, large businesses that get federal grants, that are public-private partnerships with counties, with cities, that now can't do that because it's frozen. I mean, big companies here in Minnesota that are uncertain about tariffs. I mean, this is just, you got to go through the right process so that people have time to have the conversations with the decision makers. And those are our congressional folks.
But isn't there a little bit of nibbling around the edges even with this administration? Because, okay, USAID, let's say we get rid of the whole thing. It is less than half of 1%.
Right.
So people don't like it, right? Like, why are we giving money to other countries?
Well, lots of good
when we're
reasons.
not
People
taking
just
care of
learned what it was
and
last
I agree.
week.
As a veteran, I would say we project our power in many ways. And as a veteran, I don't want us to be fighting every single war. That sometimes diplomacy. Now, whether that has
I'd rather give away free
USAID,
condoms than send my son to Djibouti.
I don't think we need $50 million worth, but right. But
I want to
think that
see
there
the
are
DEI
certainly-
musical.
There are food programs, right? Like the Chinese have gone around the world and are loaning money and helping with projects and projecting their power in that way. And we need to play that game. Now, does it need to go
humanity.
through USAID? Could it go through the State Department? I can have all this conversation
Sure.
all day long. But even if we cut it out entirely, folks, it is less than 0.5%. Half of 1% of the budget. The biggest numbers are Social Security, the benefits package that we give,
And defense.
and defense.
Yep.
And so, if you're going to actually do something about the budget, you have to look at the large areas.
We'll
You
see.
Can, you can nibble.
Next week's show could be wrong about defense spending
Defense
because I heard
spending.
today Doge was invited by Secretary Hegseth to come over to the Pentagon.
Yes, he
And
was.
I mean,
Yes, he was.
does he have time? Because there was $50,000 worth
That's
of paint being done to his house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like it's the clown inviting the trapeze artist into the
He
big
was
top.
working out. I thought that's what you meant. He was working out.
Yeah,
He was
no,
getting swole.
Doge may be looking at the renovation to his house, as secretary.
No.
So
Well,
Don't know about that.
anyway, so I'm guessing we'll be back next week talking about very much some of the same things.
Yeah.
Let's go to the state because there's actually been a fair amount of activity at the state. So, so let's start with. I'm gonna move around the schedule a little here. Let's start because last week Wednesday when we were meeting, we did not have a functioning House. In Minnesota House, still a deal
Good news,
was struck
everybody.
on Thursday. What's
Good
that?
news, everybody.
Good news, everybody.
It's all better now.
It's all fixed now. No. So a deal was struck Thursday evening. Leader Damath, Leader Hortman, Leader Damath, now Speaker Hortman, was officially.
Nope, the other way.
I'm sorry, Speaker Damath. Oh my goodness. I think it's Speaker Emeritus is what
Correct.
Hortman is asked to be called. And so. The deal was struck. The Republicans, because there will not be a special until March 11th. The Republicans will have not just the speaker, but have all the chairs and the committees and have a 1-vote majority in the committees until March 11th, at which point or whenever they would install the new person, should it be a Democrat, by the way, it's not a Democrat seat. It is the people of Roseville's seat. And then post that, if should a Democrat win, they will switch to a co-chair situation with equal representative of every committee. The exception being the Fraud, Waste, and Abuse Committee. So there's two things that the Republicans really insisted on here. That was Speaker Damath, and who will be Speaker for 2 years, by the way, and the new committee on fraud, waste, and abuse. And the Republicans will be in charge of that committee and have a 2-vote margin on that committee. So, all right.
Did they not also agree to raise the limit to expel a member to 68? I thought I saw that.
Yes, they
somewhere,
did.
Too.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
so
yes.
That's good too.
Actually,
so.
that's I think
That's a big deal.
That's
Yeah.
a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That means that you'd have to have a majority of votes to set out a person, which actually makes a ton of sense. All right, so former House Majority Leader. I'm going to go to you first. Who won the deal?
I think that Melissa Hortman won the deal. And I think that because in sometime in May or June, Speaker Damath is going to have to come up with a budget deal, and she's going to have 67 out of the 68 votes she needs to be able to deliver, which means that she has all of the responsibility, all the headache, and none of the power to actually get it done. Republicans got a 2-seat majority on this fraud committee, which is 1 seat short of subpoena power. So their ability to really, bring the pressure on the Walz administration, really make them squirm, is gone. Again, so they can kind of put up a show, but they can't actually do anything. And so I don't see that if you look down to the road to June, probably, right, at this point, everything's pretty delayed. It's not that easy. I don't know how she gets any of this done, and she has all the responsibility. I don't know how they make really the governor squirm without subpoena power in that committee.
But do they need I argue they don't need subpoena power, because the stuff that's coming out of that committee already, they've only had one hearing, is devastating. The talk about the oversight, 60%, it was the OLA came out and said in committee, 60% of the grant that are going through the agencies are not even electronic. They're still doing pen and paper. Talked about that site visits aren't actually site visits, that a Zoom qualifies for site visits.
Right.
There's some already pretty obvious,
all that stuff
awful things coming out, and the numbers speak for themselves.
Sure, but then they didn't. Then they didn't need a 2-seat majority in the committee, right?
Sure.
I mean,
Right.
What was the point of all of that?
I think because they want to be able to have control of that committee and be able to to push things forward as they need to, which is going to be the number one
and the
issue.
Democrats should welcome it.
Yep.
Right.
Well, they should, but they're going in a very different direction.
And I think you have the governor that has a package. You have Senator Gustafson that has
a
it.
position for the criminals. Look, the criminals are already being prosecuted. What needs to happen is accountability at those agencies.
100%.
And this BCA position will not. Is he going to arrest his own agency?
I went
people?
back in my Wayback Machine to 2009 and pulled out legislation that I carried and passed that created criminal penalties for misspending public funds by officials in the state government.
Really? What happened to that one?
It's law. It's already there.
So what's going on?
You don't really need most of this stuff. You just need to actually follow through on it.
Follow through.
Yeah.
So I think, first off, I think that it's going to be a bill that'll come out hopefully relatively soon out the gate. A bipartisan bill, because you have Senator Gustafson in the Senate, you have the governor's package, and you have the House doing the committees. I just hope that something comes out on behalf of Minnesotans. You asked who won. Minnesotans won because they're back to work, and so I think that that's good. I agree with everything Ryan said. The smartest person in the legislature of all 201 people, well, 200 until March 11th, is Melissa Hortman. And the one other complexity that I'll add on to what Wink said is Speaker Dameth, who, congratulations, that is a historic election, but also her quick rise in that caucus from previous sessions and working her way through that caucus, but also the election. I mean, she led them through that election. So congratulations to her on that. But she had 2 people who did not vote for that power sharing agreement. So I would argue she has 64 people because there is a friction between the caucus and Action for Liberty right now. That is going to have an impact on the end of session. I do think they'll get a lot done. I do think they'll need extra innings to get some stuff done.
I thought you were going to say exorcisms, and I was just going to emphasize that.
Yeah. So, but I think at the end of the day, it was a lot of what was agreed to in January. And I think Minnesotans won, and they wanted people back working. That's what happened. And I think it's not going to heed much difference because they need to work with each other. And that's what Minnesotans expected.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not a lot to add to 2 people who have been in the middle of it. I actually had the same observation all the way through that, really, as Ryan, which is to say, at the end of the day, you almost don't want to be the speaker when it comes down to it,
Holding a
because
hot
the
potato.
perception is going to be that you have more power than you have.
And neither side was going to have the power. Like whoever got the speakership,
Correct.
you
There's
didn't have
only-
the votes.
They got
Neither side of the votes.
deliver this baby jointly, and it's never pretty to watch.
But it and totally agree with Carla. Obviously, that it's just good that they've gotten back to work, and that hopefully one thing I was looking forward to, having been sort of out of the day-to-day work at the Capitol for a long time was to see whether, kind of implied a lot of talk about regular order really in Congress, and hopefully we're getting back to some of that, and that perhaps at the legislature this is an opportunity to get back to committees taking on a lot more power and jurisdiction.
It's way past time. They'll have to.
They'll have
to
to.
be done.
But the big picture, Democrats basically did everything they could imagine doing. Maybe with a couple of exceptions in 2023, right?
It did feel that way.
Right? Everything we worked on for 10 years, right? So all you really need to do is sustain it through another cycle or two, and then it becomes well established, right? So you're not going to repeal paid family and medical leave under this setup. There was no prospect for doing that. Most importantly, we now have inflation back in the budget forecast. So 0 now means an inflationary increase in every spending area. So status quo favors the Democratic point of view now in a way that it hasn't for 20 years. And a status quo legislature led by Speaker Demuth is a 100% win for Melissa Hortman.
Particularly with a $5 billion deficit that had created by all that dream.
It's mostly, a lot of that was one-time spending. The $5 billion, who knows? That's all based on future economic performance, which we know right now has about zero.
Inflators in the budget, but inflators put into the budget, and programs that were not properly vetted or fiscal noted, or they underestimated in a big way to kind of push through.
Sure. And they'll have to deal with it. But instead of dealing with every program as being 0, therefore starting with a cut effectively, you're moving everything forward based on current service levels, which is not something we've had for 20 years.
No, I don't disagree. You guys got a lot of stuff through in 2023.
But not sports betting.
Yep, not sports talk. I don't know.
Or
we'll
even
see how
cannabis.
that's going. This is looking. Okay, let's go on the. We've got an update on the Woodbury Senator Mitchell situation. Senator, as folks that listen know, Senator Mitchell, DFLer from Woodbury, was arrested and charged with felony burglary last April, right at the end of session, because they law enforcement report they said that they found her huddling in the basement of her stepmother's house. She was dressed in black. She was having a flashlight covered by a black sock. She had her backpack stuck in the egress window. In the backpack was a laptop that she said was hers. When they opened it up, it had her stepmother's name in it. And then she claimed to them that she was gathering some things from her father who had died, that is his ashes, which sounds sad that her stepmother had not given her. Her stepmother was very clear in an interview that she gave her the ashes in a bobber-shaped urn because her father was a big fisherman. And then she came out after a couple days in jail and thinking that we had not read the reports and said that she was doing a wellness check on a stepmother who was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's, which makes me
That's why she went with the blue crowbar.
As people know, I get a little triggered by this. My father is going through Alzheimer's, and to actually blame this poor woman and what you were obviously doing, and you think we're so stupid, and also we're to believe that the Detroit Lakes Police show up and find a woman who's clearly impaired with Alzheimer's, and you arrest her Senate Lieutenant Colonel daughter because you just mistake that what she was doing for a wellness check as burglary is just like she's insulting to everyone. She's refused to step down. And Gabe, can you play some stuff? You've got a channel.
She's still a no. She will not resign. She intends to serve at least until her criminal case wraps up.
From the governor to the state DFL chair, the calls for Senator Nicole Mitchell's resignation are starting to come from within her own house. Her majority leader isn't quite making the same call, but she says she's talked to Mitchell and she'd step down if she was in the same situation.
I hope, as I continue to talk with her, that she reaches that conclusion.
Former GOP Senate Majority Leader Amy Koch says the delayed calls for resignation could hurt Democrats in November, and she's not sure they'll even move Mitchell.
I'm not sure that she cares much. She doesn't seem to care much about any of that.
At the Capitol, Corin Hogger, Fox 9.
She doesn't care about that. She should have stepped down.
Yep.
I've been everybody knows I've been through some hell myself at the Capitol, and I had the decency, even though it was not to this level, to step down, because sometimes it's just better for the body, it's better for your family, and it's better for your mental well-being. And sometimes it's just the right thing. And some people apparently are lost on that. And there are new felony charges, by the way, because the police found a crowbar on the scene, and also pry marks on another egress window where they believe is where she entered the house. So just in her wellness check, crowbarring open an
She
egress
should have
window.
just claimed she was drunk.
So
She drove 4 hours. I guess she would have got a Dewey, but
Right? You can recover from that much more easily.
a lot of Deweys at the Capitol.
Yeah. So I will
So
say that
please,
maybe I take this a little bit more sensitive than others because of how I came into the Senate. My predecessor resigned because of a scandal and understood that he was not able to get things done.
That's right.
And also because of our community. And that is one thing that is not being talked about, is the impact that this has had on the amazing community of Woodbury. It's
Almost a year now.
80,000 member community that their senator is not on committees, not participating in caucus, not getting hearings on bills. It is the, I believe, 7th largest city in the state. And it's difficult, and they have needs, and they deserve a voice. And to not have her step down to deal with these issues is it's sad. It's harmful to the community.
She should be gone. There's no question about it.
No doubt about it. But should the Senate make moves to expel her? Because the Republicans have made several motions, and the Democrats have said, "Oh, we're going to wait for the courts to decide." And now the court's been pushed back and pushed back. She was supposed to have a January hearing, pushed it back till after session again. So,
I mean,
is the 34th vote so important that?
You wonder
yes.
too if I was going to say if she was the 35th vote, you wonder if that might not have occurred by now.
Also, I mean, I don't think the legislature's ever kicked anybody out.
Right.
Especially until there's an actual felony conviction. What she's doing is just humiliating herself, making everybody's life difficult, and
I don't think
serving
she
no
sees
purpose.
it as that.
Well,
She is she's doing meetings. She's on League of Minnesota or League of Women's Voters panels.
she's a pretend senator at this point.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
think that's a good way to put it. She even, the statement she made, there's some new statements that came out that, well, first of all, we already know she said, I was just trying to get some of my dad's things, and then added, clearly I'm not good at this. I'm not sure exactly what she's not good at, if it was just a wellness check, but yeah, you're right. You're not good at a wellness check either. And then at one point, she did make a statement to them that was about, and then my military pension. Shoot is in the statement.
This is her constituents were somewhere down the list, I assume, in the quote.
And the other thing is,
well, and the actual victim in this, which is Carol Mitchell, who was terrified because there was a person crawling along her bed, and was real damage done there. But
so I was just gonna say, like, her stepmom. I mean, to think about that, but also the distraction this is causing the process of the body, and it's a it's a prestigious role that you have, and one that everybody should take with a high level of responsibility, and even higher level of responsibility, because you're representing the voice of your community. If you think about it, there's very few people that ever get to walk through that chamber and see their name on that board. Some of us have got to be in both of those chambers, and that's even a smaller group. And so you take that with a very very big honor. And as Wink said, for her to not understand or respect that, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
No, it seems like that's a universal statement. It just makes no sense in how to break through. And it's just not going to happen at this point. It seems like she's made her decision, and
I guess she just stays.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on, folks. I'd like to get to the more of the waste, fraud, and abuse, but I'm afraid we just are out of time.
Next week.
Next week.
Next
That-
week. There'll be more.
One thing
Infrastructure
like
week.
Donald Trump.
And then it'll be
Just like Donald Trump and his executive orders, I'm guessing Minnesota waste, fraud, and abuse is still going to be on the menu.
Real quick, Wink, do you remember when executive orders were bad? Are you old enough to remember that?
They're bad if you don't like them. They're good if you do like them.
Okay,
I would just like to
I was
say-
just wondering.
For consistency on the show, they're bad when we like them or don't like them.
Yeah.
They're bad.
They're bad.
It's an overreaching of presidential power. It's not how it's supposed to be,
I mean,
folks.
executive orders are normal, but they're supposed to be within the law.
Within
Yeah.
constraints of the
Yeah.
law.
Longtime listeners of the show will remember that I was ready for Rand in 2016
That's right.
on the premise of reducing presidential power. And that was then.
Yep. This is now.
This is now.
All right, and I look forward to your thank then. But anyway, let's do
Spoiler.
let's do some plugs. Does anybody have anything to plug?
I'm going to see you later.
Yeah,
An
are we gonna
Almanac.
Be? Where are we going to be,
We're
Carla?
going to be on Almanac at the Capitol with Mary LaHammer,
What time?
7 o'clock.
Where can people find it?
TPTMN.
Nice. I'm looking forward.
That's
to it.
French for the hammer.
That's a good one, Franklin.
Mike or Ryan. Anything you want to promote or plug?
I'm always happy to promote my business,
Heck yeah.
crookedbeverage.com. A fantastic THC beverage made with real fruit puree, available in liquor stores and online.
Yum. Where can we find it in Minnesota? 'Cause I know you're all over the country.
Well, so the best place is probably Top 10 Liquors. There's 15 locations across the metro area. John Helper, who owns that chain, has really been a national leader in promoting this category. And if you don't know, Minnesota is like the Silicon Valley of hemp beverages. We do more of it here. We have creating more jobs, more businesses, breweries, can companies, all kinds of people are making money on hemp beverages produced in Minnesota and being sold all across the country. It's starting to take off, but it happened here first.
Nice.
I got nothing in particular to promote except for that I'm going to stop and pick up some Crooked on the way home.
All right.
So,
Very
thank you, Ryan.
nice.
There you go. New customer.
New customer.
You will go away satisfied, I promise you.
Yeah, very good. This is good.
And relaxed.
And relax.
Let's see. BS show for Brian and I every Tuesday. You can catch us on where you get your podcasts or radios all around. Almanac at the Capitol with Biggie later this afternoon or later this evening. Al Travis Radio I do every other Friday and every Friday at 8:20 on WCCO Radio. You've got the Capitol Clash with myself and my compadre Jeff Hayden. And so you can catch us with Vanita Soccer. And I think that's all I got this week. So, okay, let's go to Spanks and Thanks. We don't want to. We'll give Ryan a break because this is his first Spanks and Thanks situation. Who wants to go first? Oh,
I'll go because I think we should finish with Franklin
can,
there.
sure.
Okay, deal.
My thanks is to my doctor because I'm out of my boot for my foot.
Yay!
Yay! So no more
We don't have to
no
lift
more
you up the
boot.
stairs.
Yeah, no
This
more
week.
catching me falling down the backs. Ooh, that was a close one. And then my spank is going to continue to be President Musk, who's not been nominated for anything in a department that has not been created in the appropriate manner and he's not been confirmed. So has unfettered power. You're spanked, President Musk.
All right.
Well, then on that
Representative
theme,
Winkler?
my thanks have to go to Elon Musk's son, who I think is named like X-Kid or something
Yeah, it
like
is
that,
It's
X-Child.
X. Yeah.
And his
Maybe it's his former son.
he was last heard,
That's a good one too.
formerly known as
X.
Travis.
Let's be honest.
For my thanks is his last words were, "Shush, you're not the president." While in the Oval Office.
There's a video
To the big orange. And my so that's my thanks. My spanks. I don't have one.
No Spanks. Just
That's
feeling
good.
so
I
good.
mean, sure, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. All right, I'll give you my spanks.
All right.
To the Democratic leaders who think that standing outside a federal agency and protesting spending cuts is good politics.
Oh man, I had so many.
But it's a
potential-
sit-in or a stand-in.
I will send this, and perhaps it'll
You're
make
welcome,
air
Republicans.
next year. The song that they were singing, I put in the thread that
Oh, yeah.
I will send to you guys.
Oh,
It
it's
was
so
almost
wonderful.
one of
I
my
think I texted
nominations.
that to
It was so good.
Was that Schumer?
So delicious.
Is that Schumer?
No,
that was
no,
one?
that one was good too. But
Okay.
this was
No,
I forget
this
which
is even
union, but it was a
worse.
union of government employees.
Yeah.
What is this? Very bad, very bad, very bad. They need
No,
some
I mean-
AI. AI needs to help that out. All right.
We appreciate the help because our party's been on life support. So yeah, thanks.
Your party is on, it's like the life support patient who roared back to life, but we don't know how long it's going to be.
Right. So I'm going to just do a double thank. My first thank is to all of you. Thank you very much. There was an illness that precipitated some of this, and everybody jumped in somewhat at the last minute and showed up in Northeast Minneapolis and recorded. So a big thank to you. And then I am also going to thank Speaker Lisa Damuth. It's a big deal for me. I think it's a big deal for the state. I think it's a big deal for the Republican Party, and I think it's also a big deal personally for me. So, first of all, for the Republican Party, she is the first female Speaker of the Republican Speaker of the House. There's been 3 other women speakers of the House. They've all come from the DFL party. This is the first woman Republican. She's also the first. She's the first Black Speaker of the House in Minnesota history. So yay for Minnesota. And also, she is the first and only Republican caucus leader since me. And so it's always a very weird and lonely club. There has not been
female Republican.
Female Republican caucus leader since me in 2011. And yeah, there's not been a majority leader in the Senate, and that's no Republican, and there's not been in the House. So it's a club of 2 now.
Well, you both deserve it too.
Well, thanks. I got what I deserved.
I was the original Republican woman on this show,
you were.
so
Yes,
we
you
do
were.
have a problem in that.
But anyway, it's a big deal. It should be a big deal. I know, the speaker's been very sort of quiet on that, and I understand that. What I said is sometimes it's heavy to be the first, and people would ask me, and I'd be like, oh, it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. But history will show very different. And I hope that eventually Speaker Damuth will just be able to enjoy and recognize the tremendous accomplishment and what it means, because it does mean.
She's a worker through that caucus. She ascended and worked through that caucus.
She has earned that position. She's been, flawless in her execution in many ways, and she's really grown in that position. And so that is my thank this week.
All right.
Franklin.
There you go. My spank is to U.S. Representative Anna Paulina Luna, Republican of Florida. And this is a convertible spank, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But she is leading a new task force focused on the declassification of federal secrets. And this is subject to one of those Trump executive orders, including records related to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy. And that's what brings us to her particular focus, namely that she is taking a look at some of the actions behind the what followed after the 1963 assassination of President Kennedy. And she, when speaking about this, talked about bringing in some of the folks who were directly involved, including some of the physicians and the members of the Warren Commission. And that would be fine, with the exception of the fact that they have shuffled off this mortal coil.
Yeah, they're dead.
They're dead. But Representative Paulina Luna, now I mentioned this is a convertible spank. If she manages to successfully pull off the first ever congressional seance, this would be converted to a thank. So Representative Luna.
She's bringing back Dick Russell and Gerald Ford if she does that.
Who is
He'd be happy to hear about the national
who did
championship.
Javier nominated Laura Ingalls Wilder's husband?
Almanzo Wilder.
Almanzo Wilder.
We're starting seances. And
We're starting seances. So
he has a crush on
I wanted
Manly.
Davy Crockett, but he quickly went up
has
to
a
me.
crush on Manly.
So this would be converted to Representative Luna. The ball's in your court. I don't know how you're going to do it, but maybe there's an executive order that can pull this off. So you are hereby spanked by me. And he took a little heat today, and so I'm feeling a little like I need to get the orange man's back. I want to thank our fearless leader, President Trump. President Trump has officially ended the scourge, and this is going to be popular. This is a big one.
This is a big one.
He's ended the scourge of paper straws.
It's a ridiculous situation. So we're going back to plastic straws. I think it's okay. And I don't think that plastic's going to affect a shark very much as they're munching their way through the ocean. Okay.
And as these sharks are munching their way through the ocean, there might have a little more detritus, but as I am sipping on my luxurious Arnie Palmer or what have you, I will be sipping through petroleum-based liquid delivery system that was designed by the gods themselves. Thank you, President Trump. You are hereby thanked by me.
Yay.
This is good.
The whales don't thank you.
The whales, the whales are going to have to wait 4 years. And I think even Ryan would.
I don't know how the plastic straws get from Minnesota to the ocean anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the Minnesota whales are going to be just fine, Carla. They're going to be fine.
Sad
They're
day.
going to be fine. The whales will be fine. They'll be good. And I think even Ryan
about
would
the
concede
jellyfish?
this is a proper use of an executive order.
Jellyfish.
I don't think they actually had any words on the executive order. I think he signed a blank piece of paper.
No, he signed a straw.
What about the beavers?
You know what? We'll get back to that just as a reminder for folks. Our legislative agenda as this moves forward, and we've got a lot of people at the Capitol that listen to this. One, we are getting to the bottom of the State Fair Board, and believe me, we are working on this, and we will have some informants. We're doing some investigation because those ticket prices are going up $20, and we have long wondered about who's behind this, who's on the Fair Board, where does the money go, and what's going on with this expense. And then, of course, as folks remember, feel free to contact your state legislators. Senate File 811.
811. No House companion. I'm looking at it right now.
No House companion.
And no co-authors.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, members, WA folks that are listening, we must get to the House and we must make sure that we have a companion. Because
Action alert.
An action alert. We need you to send in your emails. We need to find a House author for Senate File 811. This is the lifting of the ban. There's a current ban on the eating of beaver.
I don't even understand the eating beaver bill without a companion. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense. And
it's wrong, and we have to rectify it.
And the bill refers to a retained beaver, so we might have to have a little explainer on a future. I know you had an explainer last week.
We have some DNR folks that have been weighing in, and we're going to get some explanation on retained nuisance beaver, why the ban might have happened in the first place. It's just a brand new ban.
Diseased beaver.
But I think that the people demanding the lift on the prohibition of eating the beaver, and we are going to get to the bottom of it, Senate File 811.
There we go.
And with that, I am former Republican Senate Majority Leader Amy Koch.
I am Mayor Emeritus Mike Franklin.
I am former guest host on Wrong About Everything, Ryan Winkler.
And I am former State Senator Carla Bigham.
And we are
Wrong
About Everything.
Take it away, Dave.
NBC. No relation to NBC.